Hey there, welcome back. Once again, it's time for more The Golden Age of DC Comics 365, where I go through this awesome coffee table book that I got about 2 decades ago from one of my best friends. And this has been surfing every one of my coffee tables ever since. And it's well loved, well read, and I thought it would make excellent YouTube content for my little channel that's growing. And I love comic books. I love talking about comic books. And if you love talking about comic books, you're in the right place at the right time. So let's get to it. I use this book for its intended purpose. There's a link in the description. This is The Golden Age of DC Comics 365, printed on Abrahams Press from 2004. Written and collected and curated by Les Daniels, Chip Kidd, and Geoff Spear. And it's basically a page-a-day book where we turn to the page. This is today's page. Today is April 13th. We look at the art. It's usually it's a picture of a comic book. So it's a close-up on an aspect of a page or a cover or an advertisement. And then there's a blurb written by one of our 3 authors with the citation of where and when it's from. The Golden Age of DC Comics runs from 1938 until 1955. The Silver Age begins in 1956 and runs till 1970. I'm a Bronze Age baby. The Bronze Age baby was started in 1970 and runs till 1985. Apparently, the wiki says that the current age of comics has been running since 1985. I dispute that. I disagree with that. I would like to have conversations about that with other comics book people. So tune in, leave a comment, and I'll even livecast. I want to talk about this. I feel we just left some era around 2015 and that we're in a brand new era. So what era are we in now? And what era did we just leave? I mean, if the Silver and Bronze Age were both about 15 years, wouldn't there be 2 eras since 1985? Say like 85 to 2000, 2000 to 15, and now we're in a brand new age? I mean, think about it. I mean, let's talk about it. Let's talk about comic books. I love this. And I love it that you tuned in today. Thank you so much. I hope you're doing really awesome today. And if you're not, tune into one of my spirituality videos. It's a playlist called The Gratitude List, and maybe I can give you one of my superpowers. It's they're mind bullets to shoot down the chronic lonelies and the chronic mopies and the chronic angries. You tune in. So it's some spirit armor. You know what I mean? An upgrade. You know? All right. Well, today it's it's April 13th. What am I talking about? This is The Fox and the Crow. And I did a little bit of research on this. So we're going to look at the art real quick. That's an anthropomorphic crow. Anthropomorphic means it's an animal that's been given human qualities for a cartooned effect. So we all have seen this in Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck and Mickey Mouse, but that's the clinical word is anthropomorphic. And so the Fox and the Crow, we got the crow reclining. If I could have anything I wish for, what would I wish for? And why am I using that voice for this character? I'm going to get to that. But first, we're going to read the blurb, and then we're going to elaborate on the culture of the time, and perhaps the crow as a really negative racial stereotype. Because we do talk about the prevalent racial stereotypes that are involved in Golden Age comic books. It's unavoidable. It's going to come up. We're going to be faced with this, and we're going to face it together, and we're going to go through it together. So let's get to the blurb. This is art by James F. Davis. This is from The Fox and the Crow, number 17, from June of 1954, right near the end of the Golden Age of DC Comics and the Golden Age of Comics. Behold the greatest of DC's funny animals, the consummate con artist Crawford Crow. A dreamer and schemer, Crow exerted prodigious amounts of inspiration and perspiration in endless efforts to bilk and befuddle his neighbor, Fauntleroy Fox, but felt that any effort was worth it as long as he didn't actually have to work. In this story, for instance, the crow's elaborate plans involving posing as an Eskimo so that the hospitable fox will offer him refuge in a well-stocked refrigerator. The characters first appeared in Frank Tashland's 1941 Columbia cartoon, The Fox and the Grapes, and their 1945 print debut came in Real Screen Comics, which by 1948 was called The Fox and the Crow. This was a really popular comic book. It was actually a pretty popular property too. I'm going to read you from the Wikipedia. I had a friend from Bratislava in the early aughts, and she didn't know what Wikipedia was, and she had the cutest little Eastern European voice. Wikipedia. Just, oh, jeez. But The Fox and the Crow, Chuck Jones, creator of the Warner Brothers, the animator for the Warner Brothers cartoons, said that the Fox and the Crow were his inspiration for the Roadrunner cartoons, the archetypical relationship between the coyote and the Roadrunner. And the Fox and the Crow was a pre-existing property. It was an animated that they were animated, yeah. And let's see, sorry about that. The Fox and the Crow starred in several talking animal comic books published by DC Comics from the 40s well into the 60s. And they starred with other characters in DC's Columbia licensed talking animal anthology, Real Screen Comics. That began in 1945. So yeah, these were licensed properties, yeah. And then did likewise when DC converted the superhero title Comic Cavalcade to Talking Animals series in 1948. After World War II, the superhero genre kind of got really quiet and was turned down to its absolute minimum, having only Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman being published continually from the end of World War II up until the beginning of the Silver Age in 1956. All the other heroes just quietly got canceled and went away. And Fauntleroy Fox and Crawford Crow were going to have a cameo in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but were later dropped for unknown reasons. And they were part of the golden age of American animation, which ran from about 1928 until the late 1960s. And another golden age, parallel golden ages. They shared a golden age of culture. But let's get to the meat of the matter. I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and so I was exposed to a lot of cartoons. And most specifically, Heckle and Jekyll from the Terry Toons collection, and the crows from Dumbo, the Disney Dumbo movie. Now, unfortunately, these crows, and especially with the name Jim Crow, they have a hegemony of a pickaninny caricature. And for anyone sensitive, sorry that I use harsh language. But what a pickaninny is an antediluvian negative term for a black child, and it goes along with the what I think we've grown to define as ebonics, the stereotypical slang, American slang, stereotypical black American slang. So when I'm reading this voice bubble, how am I reading it? Then why did I say it in some kind of urban city gangster voice? Well, part of a little bit of research for this, I do make show notes. I watched some old Fox and Crow cartoons on YouTube. And the crow did not have a mocking, racially over... it didn't have that. He didn't have that voice. He had a talking kind of, gangster kind of voice I would associate with Robert De Niro or Joe Pesci or something. or my beloved stepdad, who's from Lynn, who he's old school, and that's how The Crow sounded, before the publication of the Fox and the Crow magazines. There were animated, and so you had an idea of not just what this character is, but who is, and there's a lot for that goes into the characterization of a voice actor and the characterization of their character. I mean, I read a lot of audiobooks. So someone like Scott Brick or Becca Bateau, you have this one person making the characterizations of a spectrum of humanity, and now we live in a culture where we will call foul on things, and what is offensive and what isn't, and what was intended as offensive and what isn't, and but specifically today, I always use, I have a problematic sensitivity meter on this show. Yeah, sure, why not? I'm going to say that this crow is not racially oversensitive or was meant to be part of the pickaninny caricature that was prevalent in the golden age of comics. There was, unfortunately, especially when it came to Asian people, Chinese people, Japanese people, and black people, and Irish people, there were pretty unfortunate stereotypes, exaggerations for dramatic purpose. And also, I tried to be fair-minded as much as I can. I don't think I'm pretty sure the intent wasn't to hurt in most cases. The impact is that's different. That's impact is different. But I truly believe that these stereotypes of the golden age were meant to convey lots of information quickly, so you can look at a single panel and you can suss out, with your cultural literacy very quickly, the missing parts, that happen in the gutters between the panels, that you can help bring this character to life in a very short amount of time. Because we call it info dump today. You don't have printing time or story beats to waste. I mean, so unfortunately, stereotypes were heavily relied upon. And yeah, that's all we got for today for the golden age of DC Comics. We talked about The Fox and the Crow, which was a hugely popular licensed property at its time. And you know what? We're going to talk about comic books every day for the rest of the year. So tune in tomorrow, 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, and we're going to find out who and what we're talking about when. Thank you so much for tuning in. Like and subscribe if you could be so kind. I'm a spiritual guy, an ordained minister. I make spiritual content. You can find my Sunday sermons and my gratitude list playlist. And hopefully it can help you and motivate you as well. I suffer from chronic mopies, chronic lonelies, and chronic angries, and I do something about it with my sense of spirituality. I'm also a professional chef. I make delicious cooking hacks for you, so you can make delicious, nutritious, and beautiful food at home for your family at your table. So tune in. I got a playlist for that too. It's called What's Cooking. And we talk about comic books every day on this channel. So tune in, and hopefully one day I will earn your subscription. Thank you so very much. God bless, good luck, and namaste. And see you tomorrow, okay?